So, okay. So you've been doing this for 3 years. Got some experience in there. What is the greatest struggle that you've experienced in having your own business?
I mean, cash flow is always a big one. I think the other thing is just learning how to wear all the hats. When you're starting up, especially if you're just not a super experienced business guy, there's just a lot of self-learning. And so, I'm not an accountant. I can do math pretty well, but I've had to learn how to keep my books in order.
Sure.
I'm not a expert trained project manager, but I've had to figure out how to make organization and write stuff down. But I think just the challenge of trying to do all those things and not drop the ball in all the different categories is pretty challenging.
The juggling aspect.
Yeah, just kind of the juggling of all the different hats.
Yeah. And do you have employees?
Not currently. I did have about 2 last year. Well, some of this year and then years before, but right now.
And there's some challenges within that even.
For sure, yeah. In some ways, it's kind of nice not having employees. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Less to worry about, but also just harder on me. But not currently right now.
Well, you're trading one form of work for another.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, now I just use either I do it myself a lot of times or I will subcontract whatever I need to be done.
Yeah. So now's a good time, I think, to be in the trades. Was the trades as you were growing up through high school and in your early 20s and things, was that something that you had thought about, or was that just the furthest thing from your mind?
I had definitely thought about it a lot. Like I mentioned, I think a lot of it was just culturally, the trades are kind of looked down upon, and I think that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
The more I get into this, and the more I realize how valuable trade working is, I feel like a lot of individuals are missing out on an opportunity to get into a really possibly lucrative, depends on how hard you want to work, but just a good career. I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be dirty. Most of them are, but it's very fulfilling. And I think that, growing up, that was part of that fear I mentioned, was kind of I don't want to be an AC or a tile guy, for some reason it was kind of I think my generation.
It was less than.
Yeah, my generation
that's the reality.
Job,
people look at the trades as a less than ideal. You couldn't do this, so then
now
you had to go do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never looked at it that way. And a lot of people do, unfortunately. They look down on the trades, and there's a huge push for college, and then these students are graduating college, or maybe not even graduating, and they got 2 years of school with nothing to show for it. But they're coming out with $20,000 to $60,000 in debt, and then
not a great job.
I mean, how many waiters and waitresses I know or I've met that have a bachelor's degree?
Yeah,
absolutely.
What I mean? I have friends that spent a lot in school and they're not really just killing it or anything. Yeah. They got a job they don't even like that much.
Sure,
and it's man, that sounds rough.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think that and I'm not just saying even in the trades, but just entrepreneurship is dying on the vine. It seems as
I think that's true. Yeah, a lot of people, like you're saying, college is kind of a big push. It's you got to go to college, you got to get a degree, you got to go work for a big company and get good benefits and get a good salary. That's that's kind of the thing that people are pushing you towards. But not that many people are talking about starting a business, being self-employed.
Yeah.
Kind of finding your own path in that. And
did you experience that in school? Because I didn't.
Experience.
Did they talk about entrepreneurship?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, it's not.
To be honest, I think one of the only reasons that I thought, my dad's a business owner. He's done his own, been self-employed. He's he's a barber. He's owned a few different salons and different things. Now he just kind of works alone because he realized the whole employee.
Does he do your hair?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, my whole life, man.
Yeah.
He's always cut my hair. That's going to be weird when he can't anymore. But yeah, I think that kind of gave me some ideas of working for myself, but also just being able to kind of have a lot more control over your destiny, so to speak. Ultimately.
Well, I think that there's people out there under the guise, especially in the education, where they espouse to be yourself and go after things, but in reality, they're dream killers.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, entrepreneurialism is a risk. It's always risky, and it can be dangerous. It can put you in some really down places in life, but it can also put you in some really high places in life. But it's not safe to be a business owner.
Being young too is you have the ability to bounce back.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're in your 20s, if you're under 30, and you work to the age of 65, you have a long ways to go.
Sure.
Like, you can make some mistakes and you're going to be okay.
And that's kind of why I referenced earlier, like, I wish I had started earlier whenever I didn't have a family and a couple kids and didn't have as many bills and things to keep track of. Like, I would have had a lot more options, and I could have failed, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal because it was just me.
And I felt like, too, in my own experience, is that as I've taken more risk, I'm more comfortable with risk. So it's not necessarily something that, hey, they got it. I think it's something that can actually be taught and learned too, that, hey, this is just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
Exactly.
The more you're going to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to start finding some footing.
Well, hopefully you learn from your mistakes.
You hope, right? Yeah. And the thing is too, what I've noticed is that the availability of resources is huge out there, for people to even start their own businesses, like guidance wise. Like, there's a lot of networks out there. You got LinkedIn. You got all these kind of different social platforms. YouTube alone. Yeah, I can't imagine how much further I might be now had I had YouTube in like high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when YouTube started. I was
you probably
like
in high school,
12, I think.
Yeah,
when I watched my first YouTube video.
So I graduated in 97, so there was nothing.
Right,
we were barely internet,
in 64, right? I think maybe like around then.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's absolutely true. I think there's a lot more information about this out there than people realize. But like you're saying, like the institutions and stuff, they don't really promote that or want people to know that that's a very considerable path that people should take a look at. Do
you think that that there's a concerted effort to stifle people from starting businesses?
I think it depends on where you live. Kind of what your local government's like, but I do think that generally entrepreneurialism and things like that are definitely not promoted. I don't know about stifled, maybe. I haven't experienced that.
I think regulation can stifle.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And that's kind of why I say it depends on where you live. Like in Fort Worth, I feel like Texas is pretty pro-business, which is great.
Yeah, we actively recruit other businesses in other states.
Yeah, but then you got places like California, New York, Seattle, where they're just like, to start a business is like a freaking red tape.
Yeah, got to get a lawyer, got to figure all this stuff out.
And so it's like that bar right there automatically knocks off probably like 80% of people because they just can't deal with that or don't have the money to deal with that.
Yeah,
or the know-how.
Yeah, it's gonna cost you a lot more to start a business in other states.
Yeah, in Texas you can start a business by saying like, I'm gonna do this for money and then I'm gonna create an LLC.
Yeah, and you can gradually implement things. Yeah, that is.
It's not that easy, but it is in some ways.
It is in some ways. Yeah. Do you